George and I are excited for the Dante Festival, which gets underway tomorrow. And of course, the feature race is on the Thursday. Let's take a look at day 2 of the meeting. Underway at 150 with that Lindum handicap over the Fast 5. Then it's the feature, the Basti Equiworld Dubai Middleton Stakes, that co-feature I should say. The big one coming up at 3:35, and you got the Westow listed race over the 5 furlongs at 4:10 as well. Usually an interesting maiden, 4:45, and a couple of fierce handicaps to get your teeth into as well. But the feature race coming up at 3:35 is the Basti Equiworld Dubai Dante Stakes. And it's an intriguing puzzle presented by these declarations. Newmarket winner Camber Legends continues, who's unbeaten, making a 3-year-old's reappearance. Dancing Magic, Dear My Friend, looking to turn around Zetland form with flying honours. Epictetus, who we've seen, of course, at Epsom this season as a 3-year-old. Killybeck's Warrior, who's tied in with Camber Legend. King of Steel, Liberty Lane, giant of a horse who I saw win impressively at Nottingham last season. He's since been beaten since, looking to rebound. Wouldn't be surprised if he takes a big jump forward. Then Passenger, who looked oh so tasty on his Wood Ditton debut. The Foxes, who could improve markedly up in distance from Newmarket. And then White Birch, who comes across from Ireland as well. George, it is appetising, it looks tasty, it's appealing, but it's an intriguing puzzle.
It is indeed, Alex, and you can make a case for, I mean, there's 9 horses rated over 100 with an up blue mobile sort of profiles, and it's a really, really fascinating race to unpick.
Not easy to actually pin your colours to the mast, to be dogmatic or strong about one, is there?
No, but you can, I think there's some strong form on show, and it's whether you want to go with a little bit more proven form or horses that have got plenty of upside that might be anything.
And I think what it also does, as ever, are you with some of the 2-year-olds, the good 2-year-olds, the better 2-year-olds from last season, or perhaps the emerging 3-year-olds? Well, let's blend those ideas together, and we'll take a look at the Zetland Stakes from last season as well. Unusual in so much as it's a 10-furlong race for juveniles. Dear My Friend, you can see for Mark and Charlie Johnston. Now, Charlie Johnston this season out in front, and Flying Honours it is in the Godolphin Blue. Interesting feature, when we joined this, 5 of the first 6 furlongs were sub 12 seconds. Dear My Friend went quite quick here and perhaps was susceptible late on.
He was, but for me, Alex, he was given a sort of even front-running ride by Richard Kingscote, and it had a lot of them under pressure behind. The one upside of Flying Honours, he travelled beautifully in behind, and it was very smooth. You can see Blanchland of Jane Chapel-Hyams under Adam Kirby challenging late on, but I always felt the winner had him covered pretty comfortably, and once he got levelled off running out the dip, he really knuckled down and galloped through the line strongly. I think he's going to stay well. He's got loads of upsides. He's in fantastic hands, and he is going to be hard to beat.
One of the reasons I mentioned those sectionals for Flying Honours, he's quite a pacey horse, isn't he? And even on a flatter track, is there a doubt about 10 furlongs against maybe some more stamina-laden horses?
I don't think so. I think he'll be fine. I felt...
Sorry, Dear My Friend.
Oh, Dear My Friend. Oh, yeah, I agree. But again, on a level track, which can be seen to good effect with horses that roll along on the front end, I'm sure would be seen to good effect.
Yeah.
And if he's ridden as aggressively, he's going to make it a test.
Interesting. OK, well, let's look at some form from this season then. We've seen in the Blue Ribbon trial at Epsom at very different conditions, hopefully to what we're going to get at York on Thursday, when Epictetus beat the horse in the black and white, Hadrianus, who ran OK, but was beaten a long way to Chester the other day in one of the trials, wasn't he? But what did you make of the way that the kind of Epictetus went through this?
I thought 2 out he's going to win really comfortably, and it was really poor ground on this occasion, Alex, so I think you can plenty of upsides to him. It was his first run after a break, and he put the race to bed very smoothly, and I thought coming up to the line he was lacking concentration, whether he was running out of stamina. I don't agree with that. I think he was just getting lonely on really deep ground. It's not the strongest form in the book, but the way he went through the race was impressive.
He's related to Barnall, who you'll know, but by and large, 10 furlongs is kind of the end of his pedigree, isn't it? That would lend bolster maybe to some that would have doubts about him over a mile and a half further down the line.
Yeah, Thistlebird was a Group 1 winning mile and a quarter filly, which was me. Yep. Just a little plug to myself.
Yep.
I thought, I can't believe you missed that, Alex. And I think he is a speedy horse, but to win 10 furlongs on really poor ground, and I mean it was bottomless at Epsom on that day. It was a good starting point, and it was after a break, so he's got lots of upsides. And again, we don't really know where his ceiling is going to be.
No. I think the distance discussion's one for another day. Whether we're going to learn anything about that on Thursday, I don't know, but I wouldn't be bothered about 10 on decent ground at York, that's for sure. Epictetus. What we're also wondering is the class and ability and where do they all fit in? And that's certainly the question with Passenger, who visually was very, very impressive in the Wood Ditton. Loved watching both him in action, this horse. He was a little tiny bit keen early on, but nothing to worry about. But if you want to watch a jockey changing through the gears, watch Ryan Moore through the final couple of furlongs here, largely under hand and heels.
Yeah, it was a really smart ride from Ryan on an inexperienced horse, and he helped him the whole way down the dip, kept hold of his head, and once he hit that rising ground, just approaching the furlong pole, he sort of really sat into him and he quickened up well. You can see him, he's still galloping up in the air a bit. I think that's his natural head carriage. But the way he went through the race was very, very encouraging for a green individual. And as you say, he was a little bit fresh early doors. I've got a couple of reasons why I'm not massively keen on him. One is he was really pretty much unfancied on the day. And I know we chatted about this before we came on air. You said, there might be a reason for that, but if he'd been galloping the house down, he would have definitely been short of price for sure in a race where I think he shocked them slightly on how much he was streetwise on the day, and again, he might be just a slow burner that doesn't show much at home. Yes,
indeed. Yeah, you can read that two ways. I mean, you could say, Sir Michael Stout often has potential classic horses who don't win on debut, and therefore he kind of fits the mould. But yeah, if you're going to win as impressively as that in a Wood Ditton, then
also it's really hard because a Wood Ditton, none of them have run, so you can't get a line of form on it. It's just you're going on visuals really, and there's a bit of. I mean, it was a good performance under the circumstances, and he will improve massively for what we've seen. But he's just a hard horse to get a gauge of what level you were dealing with on that day.
Yeah, I was really taken with him, but I've no idea if he's a pattern horse already, to be honest. Pedigree-wise, he hit the line very hard there, didn't he? I wouldn't have thought he'd have problems with 10 furlongs. I think his grandmother was a mile and a half. He's related to a mile and a half.
I think he's going to be better stepping up in trip, in my opinion, and that's why I really like the performance, because you wouldn't be a massive surprise if it was too sharp for him 8 furlongs on debut, but he was pretty smart on that occasion.
Looked like Ryan was really trying to keep contact with his mouth and his head all the way through that sort of midsection of the race.
He was indeed. He helped him down the dip, which is a key thing with inexperienced horses. Obviously, you need a horse that's able to sort of travel to help you do that. But it was a very good ride from Ryan in regards. I know he's an impressive winner, but he helped him the whole way through the race. And then once he hit that rising ground, he really sat into him.
Yeah, I think it's a really subtle ride, and probably an understated one. I loved watching that. Let's go back to Newmarket. In the field, then, let's take a look at Canberra Legend and Killybegs Warrior. It was an unusually unsightly race, this, wasn't it? There were horses spread out and all over the place.
So this is one horse I really want to highlight. You see him running down to the dip, Alex. You can see he's sort of a big, long striding horse. He's obviously quite long in that regard, and he got very unbalanced rolling down the dip. You can see he wanted to go left towards the stands rail, then right. He was just rolling around, and once he hit the rising ground, you can see him level off and really drop down. And he's a horse who's definitely going to benefit from a level track. For me, he's a non-Epsom horse. Watching him go through the race, I know this is only second time out. It was a really good performance to win, considering he looked like he was struggling running down into the dip to me. But he's got loads of upsides. He's going to really appreciate going further for me, and we just don't know his ceiling. I really like that performance, and I think York's going to suit him.
Interesting, because I came away thinking that didn't look a race full of classy horses to me, but he looks like he's a strong galloper, and he could improve a chunk out of that, but I think he might need to.
Yeah, I think he's going to, and I think as a physical, I haven't seen him up close, but just seeing him on the TV on that day, he's gonna develop and improve through the air once he feels his frame as such, and he sort of gallops on his head a little bit, and I think on a really level track like York's going to suit him.
So you get, because of the dip, because of the way he ran around, he could improve 10-20% out of that.
Oh, massively, yeah. He's got loads of upsides, and I heard Charlie Fellows, who I think he was underbidder on him, saying he saw him as a yearling and he absolutely loved him. So he's one of those really late developing types.
Well, talking of horses for whom things didn't go to plan and obstacles had to be overcome in the run, White Birch across in Ireland, that is definitely the case in point. Slow start, ended up the grey, you can see almost white there at the back of the field. Watch into the home straight, George, you can talk us through this, but there's going to be a bump and a nudge. There's a lot going on for this horse to overcome.
It's a really hard track at Leopardstown when you get a disjointed field as such. You see the horse in front there, Jim Bowl, just got away from them. And
here we go here.
I thought it was very messy as Ryan's horse sort of drifted to his right, and it took a while to get balanced again, but it was a good performance to win. Again, it's hard to get a gauge of exactly where he fits in with these. I think there's a potentially few more classy horses in regards to how they travel, but it's very much job done on the day, and he got up right on the line, so I'm sure he's going to stay well.
A bit like the field, and visually it wasn't a race that you came away thinking that was really classy, but you know, you have to cut your cloth according to what performance is required on the day, and he found a way to win.
Also, under the circumstances, on a horse who's learning his job on only his third start, to get that bump, and you could see him physically drop back, and to get rebalanced and get up and win under the circumstances was a good performance.
Yeah, very much so. Right, that's White Birch. And by the way, just going back to Passenger, he's one of the few horses who has no entries in the race. So whether that backs up what you were trying to hint at earlier on.
And also supplemented, wasn't he, for this race? So it's obviously it's a trial. You've got to feel your way, and they feel that this is a good starting point to find out where they stand with him, because I suppose you just don't know after one run. Yeah,
and he missed. He would have been at Chester, but he was pulled out because of the ground. So hopefully he turns up and he gets his surface on Thursday. Let's talk about the Foxes and Dancing Magic. This is from Newmarket. This was the Craven Stakes. You've got to love the way the Foxes went through this race for the majority of it. Indestructible's on his right. You can see the Foxes travels slightly better than him throughout, and he's just got a few creases to iron out from here on in.
Yeah, he's an interesting horse because you watch this and you think, well, he's going to be better on a level track. He won at Goodwood last year. You know, he's a horse who I think he got tired on the day, and you could see his stride shorten up once he got to the rail. He's sort of just staying on for his sufferance really more than anything. But as you say, he went through the race beautifully. He's got a lot of upsides, and I think he's going to tighten up plenty for the run. And I'm really keen on the Foxes. I think he has potential to improve again on what we saw. And he was a Group 2 winner at 2, and I think he's pretty smart. And whenever I saw him last year, I always thought he was going to be a better 3-year-old.
Yeah, you like him. He's related to Bangkok, who the yard trained as well. There's enough in the pedigree to suggest he should be okay, or will he really like the 10?
I think he'll get it, no problem. Whether he gets any further than that, we'll see. But I just think he's a classy horse, and he's a big boy, and I think he's just going to be really tighten up for that first run.
And where do we sit with Continuous, who's not in the Derby, is 1 2 out of 2? There's a kind of solidity about his Group 3 form from last season.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of get a gauge on that French form. I watched it and he got the job done. I was really taken by his sort of debut effort at the Curragh. Was ridden aggressively from a wide draw to get to the front and ground out beautifully. I loved him on that occasion, and he's got so much upside. He's got the job done every time, and I think he's one of those that definitely will be better this year. And he's in the best hands, isn't he?
I wonder if he'd have been in the Derby, whether he'd been favourite for this, but he's not. He is around 11 to 2, 6 to 1, in fact, with Sky Bet. Epictetus is the market leader, 7 to 2. Flying Honours, who will relish the distance, that's for sure. He's 4 to 1. Passengers 11 to 2. Continues is 6 to 1. Canberra Legend is 13 to 2. One for the future for sure. George, I think you like the Foxes.
Yeah, and when I was going through this race yesterday, potential runners obviously before decks were done, I just thought he's a really solid each way bet for me.
Yeah, I like the Foxes and Passenger. I've got to be honest. I'm I'm really fascinated to see if he's going to be up to it. Looking forward to it. So that's the feature race of the meeting, and it's coming up on Racing TV on Thursday.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.